At 50, down 16 spots coming off a double overtime loss, we have the Florida State Seminoles losing to Virginia. At 49, new to the S&D 50 this week, up 12 spots, the Old Dominion Monarchs. We had them last week in the honorable mentions, and here they are now. Beautiful to see. They got a win. At 48, we have Nebraska. 47, down 20 spots in the rankings. We have Kansas coming off a close loss to Cincinnati, who we'll talk about later. And at 46, we have Baylor, who beat Oklahoma State without Mike Gundy 45-27.
The Baylor game against Oklahoma State, by the way, I think the line on that game was like 25 points. And Baylor, I mean, they only won by 18, so I guess that's momentum if you're Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I would call that a win for the Cowboys.
I mean, let's talk about Florida State, though, before we go too much further. Florida State ranked 18th in the AP poll this week. I mean, is now the time to talk about how bad the AP poll is?
8th last week. And yeah, you can talk about how bad it is. And Florida State, I've just stopped following the AP poll since the SND has just enlightened my eyes to truth and justice. But Florida State only faces one more team that's currently ranked in the SND 50 the rest of the year, and that's Miami. None of their opponents are even in the top 50.
Insane.
And not to mention, the AP poll has Virginia rated behind Florida State still, even after losing. And it's good to mention here, Virginia dominated that game. If you didn't watch it on Friday, you might have thought, well, maybe Florida State was playing with their food. No. Virginia dominated. The double overtime's deceiving here.
Yeah, Florida State honestly clawed back. They almost salvaged the game in a true comeback. Virginia, I mean, we were talking in the first half of this game, Drew, and we thought that Virginia might run away with it.
Yep. It's good to see Florida State properly rated 2 weeks in a row. They're at 50. We're not saying they're out of it. They beat Miami this week. They'll jump right up, and good on them. But this model rewards performance, and they didn't perform well. So that's why they're at 50. Old Dominion, 49, up 12 spots, beat Liberty 21-7. How do we feel about these Monarchs?
It's good to see the Sun Belt put in a team in the top 50, and Old Dominion, that's a surprising one of any of them.
But hey, if you play Indiana well, that's why you're here.
Oh, yeah, they're not going to continue to get that boost, by the way. If Indiana keeps winning, that tapers off. They won't get credit by, a few weeks from now at all. And even at this point, they're not getting all that much credit.
Negligible credit.
And Indiana is still suffering from only beating them by 13 points because
I know
everyone is like, oh, they only beat Old Dominion by 13 points. Well, guess what? Old Dominion's a top 50 team. Gosh, all these ignorant people don't realize the quality of play going on with the Monarchs.
When I see the sport through the S&D 50's eyes and you look at teams ranked 1 through 136, if you're team 49, that's a big deal. But I think in a sport where we only look at 25 and then this black hole abyss after 25, no. 49's great. 49's really great.
Yeah, you're basically in the top third.
Yes.
That is way good.
They're the highest rated Sun Belt team. They are, according to our model, the best team in the Sun Belt. That's got to be a good place to be as an Old Dominion fan.
At 48, no change, Nebraska.
They had a bye week. They got a tiny little bump in the rating, but no change for now. Yeah, we'll talk later.
At 47, we have Kansas. That Cincinnati game, I don't know if you guys watched this. I watched it. Kansas has new turf on their field. The end zone has wheat in it. Looks amazing. Cool. It's beautiful. Packed out stadium, back and forth, score. We'll talk about Cincinnati in a minute, but hey, Kansas played well again. And again, it is a loss, but they played well, which is why they're here, still in the top 50.
And now I'm curious to see where Cincinnati, if we've yet to see them in the top 50. So I'm
Correct.
guessing with this win, they'll be in here up above Kansas somewhere.
Oh yeah, this is Loki, my favorite part of the show. Just reminder, we don't show these to Jacob before.
This is great.
It's not
Yep.
all the details. He gets a little preview, but this is good stuff.
And remember that Cincinnati lost to Nebraska. And we don't see them here on this slide. They're going to be ahead of Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
At 46, Baylor. We talked about them. Congrats to Baylor. We like Baylor on this show. The model liked Baylor last year, so we'll see them continue to rise, hopefully, as they perform well.
If Kansas State can beat Baylor, then they might be for real and just had a slow start to the year. But if Baylor can keep Kansas State down, then they'll keep their spot in the 50.
Teams 41 through 45. At 45, down 12 spots in the rankings, we have the Auburn Tigers. They lost to Texas A&M 16-10. At 44, up 5 spots in the rankings from the Mountain West, Fresno State on a bye. Duke at 43, up 22 spots in the rankings. At 42, up 13 spots in the rankings, we have Boise State. They demolished Appalachian State 47-14. And at 41, down 9 spots in the rankings, Arizona lost to Iowa State 39-14. Welcome back, Duke and Boise State.
To be clear,
into the
they were
top
out more
50.
than just last week. They were both in at the preseason edition and fell out very quickly. So they're back for the first time since the preseason. Auburn in that game against Texas A&M. I mean, that's a close score in box score, right? But Texas A&M had total control of that game. Auburn got a fourth quarter touchdown to make it look closer than it really was. And Jackson Arnold just kind of looked lost. Like he made basically 50% completion rate, threw for a little over 100 yards, no touchdowns or picks, but just the pressure was getting to him. He seemed rushed. Texas A&M's defense basically had their way with Jackson Arnold.
And then looking at Fresno State, I mentioned this last week, but their head coach, Matt Entz, he's an interesting character. As I said, he coached at the powerhouse, FCS powerhouse, might as well be the Bama of the FCS, North Dakota State. And the fans at North Dakota State actually ran him out of town. He won 2 national championships in 5 years, but his last couple years they had a couple of 2-loss seasons. And that is unacceptable there. The fans did not like him. They thought he was not leading North Dakota State in the right direction. They thought quality of play had dropped. So he left to take a linebacker coaching job at USC for a year. And then this is his first year at Fresno. And so everyone at North Dakota State is saying he was just a product of the system and he wasn't a good coach. And so I guess we're going to find out here at Fresno. Right now, he's off to a great start as he's got Kurt Warner's son, EJ, chucking the ball around for him.
Fresno State on a bye. I think they're dangerous in the Mountain West. I agree completely with you, Jacob. Watch out.
Yep, and their game this week is against Nevada, so that should be a cakewalk for them based on how Nevada's been playing this year, which you wouldn't know if you didn't follow the model.
That's right. Boise State. Let's have a Boise State corner here after the
Shellacking.
after the shellacking at the hands of the USF Bulls. We said maybe the dynasty's down. I don't know anymore. I think they're down, but hey, it's a good win against Appalachian State.
Well, I mean, you want to know if it's up or down? We'll find out.
Yeah,
Notre Dame.
Dude,
That's right.
this week, big game for him.
In Arizona, we'll get to Arizona when we talk about Iowa State.
Yep.
Teams 36 through 40. At 40, new to the S&D 50 as foreshadowed. Up 16 spots, we have Cincinnati. They beat Kansas 37-34. Welcome, Cincinnati. At 39, up 13 spots in the rankings, having clobbered West Virginia. The Utah Utes, welcome back to the S&D 50 Utah. At 38, up 3 spots in the rankings, coming off a bye, UNLV. At 37, no change in ranking, Washington lost to Ohio State 24-6. And at 36, up 9 spots in the rankings, we said it last week, the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs are no joke. They clobber UTEP 30-11.
I mean, you got two Big 12 teams in this stretch, Cincinnati and Utah. And I think the Big 12 is really good this year. I've seen several Big 12 games. I watched parts of Iowa State, Iowa. I watched most of Texas Tech, Utah. I didn't get to see any of that Cincinnati Kansas game, but I've seen Kansas play, and they're very good. This isn't the MAC, sorry, MAC fans, where they, it kind of has that same sort of chaos factor, but they're not stringing together wins in the non-conference. The Big 12's looking really good this year.
Louisiana Tech is leading the country in interceptions. They have 11. I kid you not, 11 on the season. They have 3 pick sixes. They have the nation's leader in pass breakups in Jamal Shelby Jr. That defense is carrying them. And what makes them even more scary is their head coach is an offensive guy. And the offense isn't even clicking as you would think it would. It's the defense that's carrying. Just give it due time. If that offense really starts to kick in,
I watched some highlights of Blake Baker, not against UTEP week before. Golly, he can sling it. It was big play after big play. It's so fun to watch them play.
They got a bye this week, so we may not hear from them again. And I think they're mostly through their non-conference schedule, unless you count the Pac-2 later in the year. But they've got some tough games and some additional chances to prove themselves against quality opponents. Most notably, honorable mention from last week, Delaware and Western Kentucky. I think those 2 games will be tests for them.
We love the Blue Hens. Teams 31 through 35. We have at 35 up 15 spots in the rankings, as they properly should be, ahead of Florida State, Virginia. They beat Florida State. At 34, down 19 spots in the rankings. A lot of Bulldogs fans aren't going to like this, but you have Georgia here. Lost to Alabama 24-21. At 33, up 9 spots in the rankings, ahead of Georgia. North Texas Mean Green. They beat South Alabama 36-22. At 32, down 20 spots in the rankings, losing to the Arizona State Sun Devils, you have TCU. And at 31, up 27 spots, rocketing back into the S&D 50 after being out, you have South Carolina, who clobbered Kentucky.
Hey, remember what I said last week about South Carolina? Yeah, be discouraged if you're a South Carolina fan, because the real polls won't give you your credit. But come here. You are welcome at the SND. Well, we will credit you and let you climb back as high as your team wants to climb. Thus why we see 31 from that win.
At 31, you are right in the hunt.
Yep, this is another great example of where the model's going to give you credit for how teams you recently played performed. They would have gotten more credit. They would have been higher to begin with, but they would have gotten more credit if they'd beaten Missouri and Vanderbilt. But having played, especially Missouri, having played Missouri very close, they got a decent chunk of points added to their rating because that game was just a week ago. So
South Carolina's on a bye too this week. Get healthy, get right, get ready for more SEC
LSU.
play.
At LSU is their next game.
That's brutal. North Texas ahead of Georgia. Someone who's just watching this is going to say, what are you talking about?
Hey, North Texas is a force. And I think North Texas, this is overreaction, Jacob, okay? Just like when I said Cal was going to go undefeated. I look at North Texas's schedule in the American, and it is very feasible of them to run the table. Now, they got a couple tough games in South Florida, but they get South Florida after the bye, and their next toughest game is Navy. And everything else, I do not see them losing. That's 10-2 right there. Win one of those, that's 11-1. Win them all, you're seeing them in the college football playoffs.
It's great to see. In Georgia here at 34, a couple of factors. One, if you don't play anybody in this model, you have a lot of cupcakes. Even though we love Austin Peay is going to hold your spot in above 31. So that's one reason why Georgia's here. And 2, let's remember, Georgia beat Tennessee. So you could argue as a Georgia fan, wait, we beat Tennessee. But let's remember how you beat Tennessee. You were down. You were behind. You had to come back. You had to win it in overtime. The model takes all that into consideration. And against Alabama, you trailed.
Our model doesn't give the SEC like that name brand credit. Like, no one would blink an eye if instead of Georgia here, we had Iowa State. No one would bat an eye if we had, what we're going to see where with some SEC teams that aren't where you would expect them to be. But have no fear. Our model loves the SEC still. Just maybe not the marquee brands you were expecting, because there's no blue chip bias here.
But Georgia has every opportunity to bounce back. If you're in this top 50, heck, if you're in this top 35, any win against a good team, you're going to be shooting right up. So
I will say they have the easiest, in my opinion, of all the remaining SEC teams. I think they have the easiest schedule left. They play Kentucky, Auburn, Florida, super winnable games. They have tougher games, home against Ole Miss, at Mississippi State, home against Texas, home against Georgia Tech, throw out a Charlotte game towards the end there. Those are all super manageable games, and of their 4 hardest games, 3 of them are at home.
So I anticipate we'll see Georgia jump up again. But for now, 34 feels appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Teams 26 through 30. At 30, down 2 spots in the rankings, we have the Houston Cougars, who came off a nail-biter. This game shouldn't have been competitive, but it was. Win against Oregon State, 27-24 in overtime. Texas, down 4 spots, coming off the bye. At 28, up 12 spots, we have Notre Dame, who dismantled Arkansas and got their coach fired. Poor Arkansas. At 27, down 23 spots in the rankings, we have USC. We had them so high last week, so unbelievably top 5 high. They lose to Illinois, walk-off field goal. Played great, but hey, here they are at 27. And at 26, down 3 spots, we have Maryland coming off the bye.
My favorite thing about the Houston win, by the way, is this is just kind of evidence here that you won the game. It was super close, but it was somebody you should have beat by way more. And the model only gave them 15 points. In a rating where we're talking that you're at 53.72 is their rating for those that are just listening and don't see. Like, these rating points range from at the worst to the worst were like the low 4,000s. The best to the best haven't even cracked 6,000 yet. Like, your total range is 2,000 points. And you only got 15 points for this win. So it's one of my favorite things about the model, that it doesn't just matter if you win or lose. It's how you win or lose. Like, do you perform to expectations? Do you exceed expectations based on like what the merit-based model says you should be going into a game? Houston underperformed dramatically. They didn't lose. They're not going to get a lot of credit for this. They almost got as much credit for beating Oregon State as they would have gotten if they'd blown out an FCS team.
Well, and on the opposite side of the spectrum, to just compare there, Notre Dame got 98 points for their shellacking of Arkansas.
Mm-hmm. And that was a road game against a team that was 51, just outside of the top 50 last week. And Arkansas making some changes. Arkansas corner here, firing Sam Pittman was probably the best decision the team can make at this point. I kind of love that Bobby Petrino is kind of hanging in the wings and being like, please hire me now. So he's the interim coach. Welcome back, Bobby Petrino at Arkansas. But
Get the neck brace out. And for the record, this model does not take into account home or road victories. USC at 27, we will talk about them when we talk about Illinois. I'm holding that for now. Teams 21 through 25. At 25, down 1 spot, you have the Memphis Tigers, who beat FAU. At 24, down 14 spots, we have Penn State. At 23, down 15 spots, we have Mississippi State. At 22, up 7 spots, we have Louisville. And at 21, up 9 spots, we have Navy.
Now, for Memphis, they beat Florida Atlantic. That was a pretty respectable win. Just a slight peek behind the curtain here, because all you see if you're looking at this on YouTube is that Memphis got 26 rating points added compared to where they were last week. A small peek behind the curtain. They actually got 47 points for beating Florida Atlantic. They lost 21 points. Why? Because Arkansas got shellacked by Notre Dame. So that win is less valuable this week than it was last week. And so they lost a few points. They had a downward adjustment because they played Arkansas so recently and because Arkansas got beat so badly.
It feels fair.
I'm sorry.
It feels valid.
One last moment on that. I've fixated on this game for some reason, but I promise I'll drop it. I don't know if you guys watched it all, but do you guys know that Notre Dame faked a punt like in the third or fourth quarter when they were
With that
up
big of a
like,
lead?
When they were up by like 30?
They were getting ready for Boise State at that point.
Apparently. I mean, I guess Marcus Freeman was like, might as well practice.
Marcus Freeman's like, we will exercise all our demons right now. Let's just get it all out here. Get it all going.
Bring this back to Memphis. In the AP poll, South Florida, who's not even in the S&D 50, is getting more votes than Memphis is.
Ridiculous.
Travesty.
And Memphis is undefeated.
And it's because South Florida has a win against Florida. And even though neither Florida nor Arkansas are ranked, people look at those two teams and think, well, Florida's better. So, but they're not.
Yep.
And Boise State. And that Boise State win. We know how Boise State
that
holds favor in the
it's
poll's
worth
eyes.
something, at least. I'll say that. But they
Correct.
lost. Losing is always punished by the model.
Penn State at 24 feels so right.
Finally.
But we will get to this. We will get to this later. We're going to get to Oregon. I'm holding back. But Penn State at 24, we had them last week at 10. They were not the number 3 team in the country. They had not performed like the number 3 team in the country. They had not played anyone to give them any reason to be the number 3 team in the country. Shout out Seltzer Water. Penn State at 24. Now, 23.
I wasn't sure if the mic would pick me up popping open a new can.
We'll see if it catches it this time. At 23, we have Mississippi State. We got a lot of mentions in the comments this week on our videos that Mississippi State has
that's a
no
euphemistic way of
business,
putting it.
no business being in the top 50. Well, here you go. The maths. They're at 23 despite losing to Tennessee. They really controlled that game and had many chances to win it. I love the Mississippi State Bulldogs. The model does too. Hail State.
My Josh Pate shout out of the show, because I realized after listening that I do one every week on accident. But my shout out to him is that going into this game, he made the comment that people are down on Mississippi State because they wake up in Starksville every morning. Like it's kind of a bias situation here. Yes, they're an SEC team, but it's kind of like with Vanderbilt. People are haters. It's not Georgia or Alabama, then it's going to be downvote from them. So I love Mississippi State still holding on to a spot in the top 25 of the S&D 50, no less.
Let's have our Louisville moment, Spencer. If we're going to do the Josh Pate moment, let's go right back into the Louisville moment. We got to mention Louisville if you're Spencer. They play Virginia this week. Huge game. They beat Pitt 34-27. Kind of rocky to start, but they pull out a victory. They're going to have to really be on their P's and Q's if they want to beat Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, kind of rocky. No kidding. One more little peek behind the curtain. They got 33 points added to their rating for beating Pitt. That's less points than Memphis got for beating Florida Atlantic, right? Like we acknowledge that Pitt might
is
be
the
a better
lowest rated
opponent
ACC team. Pitt is the lowest rated ACC team in the S&D 50 as of last week.
It was close. They got double the credit that Houston got for almost losing to Oregon State. But yeah, this was a game that Louisville should have done better at. I've accidentally become a Louisville stan, by the way. I have no direct connection with this university at all. But Louisville's rated higher than Virginia. This is be what it may be. I like them this week.
Love it. Jacob, Navy 21 beats Rice at 21-13. We said it last week. Rice was in the S&D 50, hovering higher than people think. Rice is a good team. Navy gets a win. They just surge on higher at 21, unranked in the AP poll. This week they have Air Force. Rivalry.
I'm not even sure they're receiving votes in the AP poll.
Shame. Nope. Shame on that poll.
If you look at Navy's wins, it's UAB, Tulsa, Rice, and VMI. Don't ask me what VMI stands for. But
I don't want to guess.
That doesn't sound. That is not the name brand slate. But I think Tulsa.
Virginia Military Institute.
There we are. That sounds right.
Another
Tulsa and Rice.
armed services game. I like it.
Yeah. And so it's not amazing wins, but yes, Rice is better than people think for 100%. Tulsa's pretty good. UAB, they're not as bad as you think they are. They're still bad, but not as bad as you might think. So this Navy's got a lot to still determine, but it's a nice start for them.
And here's the thing about Navy. Like, Navy started in the 60s, and they've just been chugging along. They've got a road game at Notre Dame. They've got a road game at Memphis. They've got a road game at North Texas. They're going to have lots of opportunities to either prove their worth or trip up.
The American is absolutely stacked. And it should be mentioned. 16 through 20 at 20. Hello, Tulane. Hello, Green Wave. Up 15 spots. They clobbered Tulsa 31-14. At 19, up 1 spot, Texas Tech. At 18, up 20 spots after beating USC, we have Illinois. At 17, up 2 spots on a bye was Michigan. At 16, up 6 spots, beating TCU, we have the Arizona State Sun Devils, who in the AP poll, as of today, are 25. Illinois, let's talk Illinois. That game was wild. USC played so well. USC had that lead. They have that late drive, but Illinois flexing their muscle, and we'll get to Indiana in a moment, but it does make you think, how good is Illinois?
I'll tell you where Illinois benefited in this game. Illinois benefited from being in Central Time and playing at noon. I don't think it can be overstated the impact that travel has in our East-West conferences like this. One of the biggest advantages that good SEC teams have is the worst time zone change that they ever have to do is Central to Eastern or Eastern to Central. Like, you've got all 4 time zones represented in the Big Ten. You've got all 4 time zones represented in the Big 12. You've got the coasts both represented in the ACC, and you've got these long, wild games. If I'm the Big 12, I'm not scheduling teams to travel and then play morning games on the other side of the country. That's diabolical, man.
Yeah, that is just straight mean. And with Illinois, I'm looking at their schedule. They only have 2 games against currently ranked S&D 50 teams. That's Ohio State and Maryland. If they beat Maryland, if they beat one of those teams and then run the table on beat the teams they're supposed to beat,
10
that
and 2.
puts them at 10-2. Do we just book a playoff spot for them now?
I think a 10-2 Illinois is on the outside looking in on.
10-2 Big Ten team is in. Book
But
it.
what if there's 3? What if there's 3 10-2 Big Ten teams? What if there's 3
They'll fit 'em
10-2 SEC teams?
I love this. Our model is going to be the hub come the end of the season for
That's
this
true.
very reason. And Jacob's right. We're going to have to see what happens because Illinois is going to do Illinois stuff as we just saw. And we're going to find out.
They got some trip games, by the way. The at Washington is going to be really tough. I don't think that's a gimme. So they get their travel moment as well, having to go, from playing Ohio State to then traveling out to Seattle.
Arizona State, that win against TCU was mighty impressive. We had TCU really high in the model last week. For Arizona State, I know TCU kind of blew it a little bit, but you still have to win the game. Arizona State wins. Impressive to see them at 16. They're on a bye. They get a chance to get right.
Yeah, they get a chance to get right to then go right back into
Walk
the
the
gauntlet of
fire.
It's hardest schedule in the Big 12. But they're so far 2-0, doing what they're supposed to be doing. They've been both close games, but in the end, they've pulled it out.
If Kenny Dillingham does listen to this podcast, I know he never will, but he's only 35. Just shout out for his health. He needs to calm down just a little bit on the sidelines, man. I am worried about his long-term health when you scream like that. It's bad for blood to your brain. Teams 11 through 15. At 15, up 3 spots, we have Tennessee with a win over Mississippi State in overtime. At 14, up 7 spots, one of the most shocking teams in the S&D 50 this week, the Cougars of BYU beat Colorado 24-21. At 13, down 11 spots, the LSU Tigers lose to Ole Miss 24-19. At 12, up 2 spots, we have Georgia Tech, who narrowly, and I repeat, narrowly escaped Wake Forest in overtime 30-29. And at 11, up 15 spots, the Alabama Crimson Tide win against Georgia 24-21.
I mean, you look at BYU sandwiched there between Tennessee and LSU. And especially, you might ask, why is BYU ranked ahead of Tennessee? Well, this is the model doing its model things. If we only looked at who you beat and how you beat them, then while neither Tennessee nor BYU dominated their opponent, Tennessee got more points for beating Mississippi State. They got 88 points compared to 68 points that BYU got for beating Colorado. Everyone that BYU had played up to this point in the year where they were still getting any kind of credit, which is ECU and Stanford, both of those teams won. Tennessee, meanwhile, they beat Mississippi State. They got more points for that. We already talked about that. But their most recent win, or their most recent game against a team that also played this week, because UAB was on a bye. That's who they beat last week. But they lost to Georgia. Georgia lost to Alabama. So they lost to a team that lost. So, like I said, while they got more points, they lost 20 points from past opponent adjustments. BYU got 44 points for past opponent adjustments because of ECU winning, because of Stanford winning combined. And so, overall, BYU ended up more points than Tennessee did on the week.
2 rating points ahead, just for anyone not on YouTube.
Yeah, it is neck and neck. So that gap, by the way, is very tight here. From 12, Georgia Tech is 55-30 down. It stays really tight all the way through Tennessee at 15 at 55-18, really down to Michigan at 17 at 55-03. Like that's a stretch of 6 teams, all with rating points within 30 points of each other.
If Bear Bachmeier can throw the ball down the field, BYU might be really dangerous. We'll see.
It's a big if.
And Jay Hill, as Jacob mentions every week, Jay Hill doing Jay Hill things. The Cougars are nothing without Jay Hill. Go Jay Hill.
They are nothing without him. 7th ranked defense in the country. Where
Jay-
did that come from?
I might start referring to BYU as the Fightin' Jay Hills, because that's what they are. That's the mascot.
When Jay Hill takes his next head coaching job, just book a playoff appearance for that school. I don't care if they're in the Mountain West. Okay, it might take a few years.
Arkansas
but just
would like a
book
word.
it. Book it. You give that man
Arkansas
3 to
would
4
like a
years. Yeah, Arkansas, man. If you are willing to support Jay and give him what he asks, and whether that comes with assistance or recruiting or his house size, whatever it is, give that man whatever he asks for. He will take you to the playoffs.
You're never going to find a human on earth that will hype up ex-FCS head coaches more than you, Jacob. I don't think it exists.
And of those FCS coaches, Jay Hill is number 1 on the list.
He is.
Now, the rare moment of silence. The rare moment that the AP poll gets it right. LSU at 13 in the AP poll. LSU at 13 in the S&D 50. That just feels right. That
Tennessee
feels
as
right
well.
sometimes.
15 in both of them. Tennessee at 15 in the AP, 15 in the
Ding,
S&D.
ding, ding, ding. AP poll does get it right sometimes. We'll give them credit where credit's due. LSU at 13. We will get to that game. Not there yet. Georgia Tech escapes this week. They're on a bye. But again, that Wake Forest game, going on the road to Wake Forest, it's just one of those moments where you've been the hunted now over and over again. And they just needed to get to the bye week to get right. We saw it with Iowa State. We'll get to Iowa State. But you just got to get to that bye week at this point in the year.
Yeah, if Georgia Tech opens up against Wake Forest, gets a little more points, got a little more credit for the rating, they might have cracked the top 10 this week. But it's a wait and see moment for the Hornets.
Alabama at 11. up 15 spots. See, Georgia, you can be in the 30s one week, and you can jump up as much as 15 spots with victories because the SEC is the SEC. Alabama at 11 also feels right. The AP poll has them at 10.
Yeah, maybe Bama fans will get off our backs now about having them so low.
I mean, that loss against Florida State doesn't look as good this week after they went and lost to Virginia.
Sure doesn't. All right, top 10. At 10, down 1 spot on a bye, Miami. At number 9, up 7 spots, the Oregon Ducks. The Fightin' Dan Lannings beat Penn State in double overtime in the Happy Valley whiteout game. At number 8, down 2 spots, we have Oklahoma. They're on a bye. We do know John Mateer has a broken bone in his hand that was surgically repaired. This model does not. Oklahoma at 8. At 7, up 10 spots in the rankings, we have Vanderbilt with a win against Utah State, 55-35. And at 6, up 7 spots, Missouri. We would love to hear from any Missouri fans in the comments. If construction did in fact carry on during that UMass game, they win 42-6.
Okay. I've spread a lot of hate about Missouri and them not leaving the confines of their construction-ridden stadium. But I was looking up some Missouri stats today. This blew my mind. Now, there's an asterisk by this because all of this has been done at home. They have yet to leave their home base. They have the top-rated defense in the country. And on top of that, they have a top 5 rated offense in the country.
Bo Pribula. Let's talk about it. If you're Penn State today, how badly are you kicking yourself that you let Bo Pribula walk and you let Drew Aller throw that pick at the end of double overtime to lose the game against Oregon?
I mean, Bo Pribula is a Heisman candidate. He absolutely should be at this point. And
said it last week.
They've got tough tests remaining still. They've got road games remaining, believe it or not. But he is solid. And Missouri is solid. Eli, hats off to you, my guy.
Eli was right.
Here is my last. I cannot let us move on from Missouri without taking one jab about this schedule.
It's still the schedule. We still talk about it. You want Missouri's schedule in the SEC. I love it. Get it one more time.
Are the college football players, the players on Missouri, are they feeling like cheated right about now? I mean, like, because part of playing college football or like any sports is the experience of hitting the road, staying in the hotel room, hanging with your homies. Like, are they starting to feel
like
cheated and like restless? Like, dude, we ain't ever going to get out of this town.
We're stuck in Columbia.
I didn't realize I was just
great.
signing up to play only in Columbia when I signed the play for the Missouri Tigers.
Stuck in Columbia and ranked 19 in the AP poll. Egregious at them at 19.
This is what I love about this model, by the way. We have SEC teams at 6, 7, and 8, and we haven't even revealed the top 5 yet. But you know who's not at 6 and 7? Georgia, Alabama. It's Missouri and Vanderbilt.
Texas.
Why? Because
no Texas here.
Utah State. They beat Utah State 55-35. That is the closest margin of victory anyone has gotten from Vanderbilt so far this year. 20 points is the closest anyone has gotten. And that includes a road beatdown at South Carolina for these Commodores. Kudos to Utah State, I guess, for having the closest score. So they play at Alabama this week. We'll talk more about that game. But Vanderbilt is the top 10 team here, right? Missouri is the top 10 team here. I don't care that these aren't the blue chip brands. If you flip-flopped those logos, these wouldn't be top 10. They'd be top 5. They'd be 1 and 2 if this was Georgia and Alabama.
Correct. And I'd like my moment here, Spencer. I remember week 1, you said, I don't know about Vanderbilt. And I said,
I'm convinced. I'm convinced, man.
Vanderbilt.
Talk about Heisman candidate.
Wagon.
Pavia. Diego Pavia, man.
Oh, I mean,
Putting on
golly.
shows left and right.
Absolute
Love me a
dog.
JUCO product.
Here, dog.
Dude.
Diego Pavia's a dog. We will get to this Alabama game. Pause. We will get there. Oregon. Dan Lanning. Ben said it last week. He loves Dan Lanning in these matchups where it comes down to coaching. Again, the smirk he had on the sidelines looking up at 107,000 in white. That little smirk with the 2 pens in his shirt collar. Man, I would let my boys play for Dan Lanning. The calmness in the storm, the way he just lets his team cook. And Dante Moore, calm as a cucumber. You know why? Because there's trust. There's trust. And Oregon, wagon. I love the Oregon Ducks. We're going to see them jump higher, I think, as the season goes on. But they do have a big one against Indiana. Teams 1 through 5, speaking of Indiana, at 5, up 6 spots, we have Iowa State.
You said
They
that
beat
people are going
Arizona.
to think that's Indiana. That's funny.
I like the lead-in, but it's not Indiana at 5. Iowa State at 5, beat Arizona 39-14, dominant. At number 4, down a spot, controversy. Ohio State at 4. No, not the AP poll darling. They win against Washington 24-6. At number 3, Texas A&M up 2 spots, beat Auburn 16-10. At number 2, the spiciest take you're going to find this week in college football. Last week it was Ole Miss. We had Ole Miss at 1. That was spicy. People didn't like it. Indiana at 2. Beat Iowa 20-15. And number 1, as I said before, Ole Miss, week number 2, that they've been the number 1 team in the country. Dispatch of LSU in dominant fashion with a backup quarterback. Lane Kiffin is rolling. S&D 50 flexing on the AP poll. Still, Ole Miss at 4. What are you thinking?
The AP is just holding on to the week 1 win that Ohio State had over Texas and still has Texas as a top 10 team when Texas hasn't really showed us anything since that loss, and Ohio State hasn't really shown us anything since that win. So other teams who are putting together a better overall product outside of just one game are jumping them.
Correct. Iowa State at 5 feels right. Iowa
Feels
State
so right.
Iowa State in the AP poll is 14. Rocco Becht and Matt Campbell should be outraged. Absolutely outraged. They are, without a doubt, a top 5 team in the sport right now. You do not want them.
Iowa State is without a doubt the most underrated team in the AP poll right now.
I remember 3 or 4 years ago, there was a lot of hype around Iowa State. I think that was the Brock Purdy senior season. Everyone was saying that they were the dark horse to make that was a 4-team playoff. But people thought they could have been a top 4 team back then. We're still not hearing much chatter about them as a contender right now. It's quiet about what's coming out of Ames, Iowa. But they are dangerous, like you said, Andrew.
This week they have Cincinnati. Big game, Cincinnati in the S&D 50 for the first time. It doesn't stop. Arizona was in the top 50 last week. They get Cincinnati this week. They will continue to show, and if you're watching the S&D 50, you will now know that Cincinnati's good, better than Nebraska, at least from a performance rating up through week 5. Iowa State's going to, if they keep putting on a show, they're going to keep moving up here. And I'm not mad about it.
And talking about Texas A&M at 3, I like it. I have nothing against it. They've put together some quality wins so far. Looking at their schedule moving forward, most of the time when I'm sifting through SEC teams, I'll click on their schedule, I'll see what they have left, and I'm like, whew, that's a gauntlet. Ooh, that's a gauntlet. A&M was one of the few teams I looked at, and I was like, oh, hey, that's doable for the SEC. Their schedule is lighter, so they might be hanging around here in the top 10 for most of the year.
Something I'll say is their hardest 3 games remaining are all on the road. That's LSU, Missouri, and Texas. Maybe not hardest. They've got a game against Mississippi State, but 3 of their 4 hardest are on the road.
Yes, the SEC is still a gauntlet, but I'd rather have A&M's schedule than Vanderbilt's right now.
You're absolutely right, Jacob. That is a great path to have. And Mississippi State, they get Mississippi State coming off just a back and forth beat down of each other against Tennessee. I mean, that's when you want Mississippi State right there. So very favorable for Texas A&M. Indiana at 2. Let's talk about it. People are going to flip Indiana number 2 in the country, and it doesn't even feel like we have to dispute. I
No.
agree. After what Illinois did, now we've had our Illinois moment. USC was at top 5 in the S&D 50 in week 5. Illinois beats them. How good is Indiana?
Knowing how good Old Dominion is, knowing how good Iowa is, even though the S&D disrespects them.
Yeah, they are really good. I feel like that Illinois game was defining for them. I think if they hadn't beat them so badly, they wouldn't be rated as high as they are here. They wouldn't be ranked as high as they are in the AP. I mean, they're top 10. Indiana was undefeated at this point in the season. They may not have even been ranked by the end of September. People really were overlooking this team, and I think they're doing the same this year.
Indiana at 8. They are at 8 in the AP poll. Again, another crime. That's a crime. Indiana is playing quality opponents. This isn't last year's Indiana who played every directional school in Illinois and then finally got Ohio State in November. They're playing teams here. Teams that even the AP poll knows are good in Illinois. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Okay, last thing on Indiana. They were 6.5 point favorites, I think, on Iowa. So they score that touchdown to go up 20-13. So now they're covering the spread. They get the ball back, and it's it's tight on whether they can run the clock out or not. And they got to take a snap, and it's a 4th down play, and there's still like, I don't know, 8 seconds, something like that left. They're at their own 40-yard line. Our favorite QB, Fernando Mendoza, takes the
Heisman
snap
candidate.
Heisman candidate. And this is what makes him a Heisman candidate. The dude just wants to win. He don't care about his rushing yards because the dude takes the snap at the 40, just runs straight backwards into the end zone until that clock hits zeros, and then dives down for a safety in the end zone, thus ruining the spread for Indiana. I bet there was a lot of unhappy bettors that day.
Dude, what a smart way to end the game. I mean, it reminds me of that NFL play that's like, I feel like pretty famous where Baltimore, I couldn't even tell how long ago this was, but you might have seen it. Baltimore had the ball, 4th down. They're deep in their own territory. There's like 20 seconds left in the game, and they go to punt it. Whoever they're playing runs back in coverage, and the punter just doesn't kick it. No one comes after him. He just hangs out. People are, it's more famous for the rules advantage. They had people holding and tackling people to the ground. And in the NFL, at least, if it's a safety, you can't decline because of penalties. And so he walked out on a safety. But it's the cerebral plays like that I love. I loved that. What a great way to end the game.
And Kurt Signetti, you just see his soul imprinted across the team in games like that. And to do that, Jacob, in Iowa is one of the most Iowa things you could do. It had to have driven Kirk Ferentz crazy to watch that happen on his own field, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, along with probably thousands of bettors.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, Ole Miss at 1. We're flexing now. Ole Miss has a resume that needs to be discussed because they are absolutely dominating, and it should be acknowledged.
So impressive what they're doing. Like, why don't we just book them in the playoffs? Do we book them in the Natty? No, that's overreaction, Jacob, going on. But it feels right. Like you said, a lot of these just feel so right. This top 5 just feels so right. Ole Miss at number 1. They've taken care of business against tough opponents, and they've done it in a dominant fashion. Now, yes, like some games have been close, but they have controlled these games. They deserve this spot.
And Trinidad Chambliss is really good, and he was their backup. He's not who they were expected to play. that actually could be a problem for Ole Miss when their starting QB gets healthy again.
They actually have 2 quarterbacks. So now what are you going to do? And Lane Kiffin, for years, we've seen this. If you've watched the sport of college football, we watch Ole Miss do this all the time. They get a couple wins under their belt. We all get excited, and then they play someone who out-physicals them, right? And you can't just run and gun, and they lose. Well, this week they prove that they can do physical. And here they are at 1. I'm a believer. Lane Kiffin, congrats.